Have you ever had one of those instances when you just knew you had this one special figure the moment you held it in your hand? This Grimlock already tripped me out when I first saw his promo pics because holy smokes, that is one splendid looking samurai sword. Then he arrived and I got my first chance of handling him. I noticed that he had ratcheted hips and safe to say I lost this year's November. Greetings people of YouTube, I'm Screaming Star and today I'm reviewing the Iron Factory kagemusha boohmaru, also known as Iron Factory's take on Shattered Glass Grimlock. Since I reviewed that Iron Factory Lockdown, I've gotten a few figures from them which I do like, but none of them have captured my attention like this Grimlock over here, thus engaging me to make a video about him. Anyways, some of you younglings may be wondering, why is he black? It's the Shattered Glass deco. As I've mentioned in a previous video, Shattered Glass is a mirror universe in which the roles of the Autobots and Decepticons are switched. Grimlock over here not only fight for evil now, but he's also a mad scientist, which is a pretty interesting prospect. Now Iron Factory have provided their own stylized take on this character, and wowzers, what a cool design already. I like their Lockdown, but this is a whole new level of samurai splendidness. So does this figure live up to my high expectations? We'll see about that after I open this untaped box. And all I can say is just wow. Holy shit, this thing looks resplendent. He's chunky with a sexy deco. Add to that this samurai styling and you get a perfect recipe for an absolute winner of a figure. I do think his chunkiness brings its own set of gripes, but I'll glance over that in a little bit. For now, as always, let's take a look at his accessories. Oh boy, he's back in heat! He comes with 4 pairs of interchangeable hands, those being fisted hands, open hands, natural grabbing hands, and grabbing hands that don't look as good but can be applied during the transformation, which alongside the fists are the only pair of hands capable of doing such. But wait, what's he gonna grab if he comes with grabby hands? You get some katanas. I don't know why they're asymmetrical, one smaller, one bigger, but being cast in this orange plastic, they look lovely. Put them in either of the grabbing hands and whew, this looks awesome. But if you think that these streamlined katanas don't really fit Grimlock's brooding vibe, you also get this huge ass claymore. It feels more fitting for the type of character that Grimlock is. More of a bruiser than a striker. Still not satisfied? Well, this big stick can be separated into 2 smaller cleavers. You can fold this back down a bit, but I don't recommend going all the way. It can be difficult to pry out if you do so. That's not what she said. Honestly, this is my favorite weapon configuration, as it really mixes the best of both worlds, looking like hefty clobbers that could still strike in a swift manner, a manner of which would be hard for his enemies to escape from. But Screaming Star, I don't like weapons. Okay, firstly, what's wrong with you? Secondly, he comes with 2 pairs of different sheaths to store the weapons into. Small circles go into hip skirts, and large circles go into his back ornaments. Sheath all the weapons in, and wow, even with all his weapons stored, he still exudes a very menacing and authoritarian vibe.
Yeah, bitch, what kind of weapon do you want to die from?
Kind of feel. As an added touch of lore, these cleavers on the back are supposed to resemble the flags that you usually see on the back of samurai-ridden horses, which is just a really cool detail. Safe to say, I think that this figure already goes really hard when it comes to what he's packaged with. Oh, let me tell you, 'twas only a taste of what's to come. Let them come. Because I cannot comprehend just how epic this figure looks. Combine the original G1 Grimlock design with the Age of Extinction one, add in some samurai spiciness in there with the edgy dark Shattered Glass color scheme, and you get what can only be described as me after Linkin Park. I tried so hard! I meant edgy literally, by the way. This thing has a lot, and I mean a lot, of sharp edges. Be very careful when you handle this guy. You wouldn't want to break the figure, nor for the figure to break your skin. One such pain zone is this absolutely amazing head sculpt. Very reminiscent of G1 Grimlock, with his helmet being replaced by this sharp samurai helmet. Not only that, his mouth plate has been sculpted to look a lot more vicious. Almost looks like teeth in there. Please eat me. I mean, you get some light piping here, which is very much appreciated. The chest also has some clear plastic action, but no light piping here, which is completely fine. The torso is attached attached to though is way more than fine. It's actually very well sculpted and painted. The piercing angles all covered in metallic teal and purple. Oh, I love it. The color scheme overall really works for me. The dark base body juxtaposed with the bright accent colors, it all ends up making him pop, despite said dark base color. Gotta love the little highlights here, such as the orange bits on his arms and the gunmetal on his thighs. Speaking of, they look very nice here with all the samurai armor sort of design sculpted onto it. His tiny hip skirts and big meaty shoulder pads also have set design cues, really selling you that this is indeed a samuraification of the character Grimlock. I only have 2 majors and 1 minor gripe here. Surprisingly, none of them have to do with his back. The kibble pieces here blend themselves really well with the main robo bits due to their matching color. And also they're pretty much what you'd expect from the average Grimlock designs, so if this is really a deal breaker for you, then have fun not experiencing peak, I guess. Now, the minor gripe I mentioned earlier, I'll gloss over during the articulation. The first of the major gripes though is that his lower legs really lack color breakup. Looks a bit plain here. Some more of that lovely teal accent would have made these pop a lot more. Secondly, which is the slightly bigger gripe, his butt flaps are very floppy. Not a fan of how these could easily misalign and poke your fingers at any moment. These T-Rex claws are no joke. Thankfully, that's the only loose spot on this figure, because the rest of it feels so solid that I had to intentionally loosen some of it. I added a touch of dish soap onto his biceps and shoulders, and what used to be some ungodly tight joints now feel completely fine. And again, the rest of the figure just feels incredibly nice. Does he articulate nicely though? That's the question for sure. To answer that, why don't we check out his posability? Now I gotta admit, he is a little on the clunky side as far as his articulation goes. He's got a ball joint at the head and a hinge joint that allows him to look downwards. As always with these types of joints, would have been much better if it moved upwards instead, but well. Now the shoulders. First off, there's a semi-butterfly joint here, and if you try to rotate them, they can sometimes bump into the back ornaments, so you have to be careful about that. And they can move out on a slight trigger happy mechanism, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Shoulder pads have rotation here, a hinge joint here, and a ball joint at the top here. Though they move out of the way quite a bit, I appreciate that. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and this foot kibble here does like to bump into the back ornaments as well. Can get annoying, but I can live with it. Ball joints at his wrists. The kibble on his back has a hinge joint here, ball joint here, and another hinge joint here. Surprisingly, a ball joint at his waist, allowing him to crunch forward that far, and back a little bit. Even got a little side to side in there, that's pretty nice. Hip skirts are on ball joints, and they are a bit tight, but they can move out of the way just like that. Same with the butt flaps, but again, loosey-goosey. Hips are on ratchet joints that can go forward that far, and back about that far. Pretty cool the fact that this Legends figure has ratchet joints. A friend of mine is a bit concerned with these, but so far it's holding up pretty okay, and they just sound absolutely lovely. Can't forget that he can do the split thigh rotation, double jointed knees that look kinda weird because of the transformation. I mean, there's just big gap there. It's not as bad as Kingdom Cyclonus or anything of the sort, so I'm kind of fine with it. Lastly, the ankles are on double ball joints, allowing them to move down that far, up a little bit, rotation, beautiful pivot, and there is a very slight toe hinge joint here. With the amount of kibble in his upper area, it does make him a bit clunky, but damn, he just looks so dynamic in every pose I put him in. Plus, he's a Legends figure, and at this size, I can forgive the clunkiness. So as always, why don't we see him strike some poses? So despite his chonky nature, he manages to achieve a great level of posability, if a smidge compromised due to his kibble. Honestly though, because of the scale that he's in, it's even less of an issue than it would have been had he been a part of a larger scale. But he's a Legends figure, so stop complaining, you nice person. I don't want to be mean. Anywho, he's in the Legend scale, so how small or how big is he? Well, let's check out these size comparisons. Here's Grimlock next to a standard Iron Factory figure, the Iron Factory Leozak. Another one of Iron Factory's samurai figures, here we have Lockdown. I much prefer the design of Grimlock here. Just looks a bit more cohesive and appealing in my opinion. Comparing him to a regular 6-inch scale figure, we have the Marvel Legends Mr. Knight. And finally, here he is next to the Earthspark Grimlock. The only other transformable Grimlock figure in my collection, and I gotta say I like the Iron Factory one a lot more. What an amazing robot mode. Surely this figure can't keep winning though, right? Well, I'm glad to say that his transformation and the eventual alternate mode are just as, if not perhaps better than the robot mode. Let's check out the transformation first. This is the hardest part of the transformation, is to close these two neck pieces in. That transformation was pretty complex, but damn was it satisfying. The only annoying part is closing the dino torso into the dino head, otherwise it's a great transformation, and probably my favorite Iron Factory conversion I've experienced so far. Leozak's was also pretty fun, but he didn't impress me as much as Rexy over here. Speaking of which, my goodness, this is an incredible T-Rex mode. I've always been a fan of the Age of Extinction Grimlock design. Judge me all you want, I can take it. And to see that design being referenced here makes me very happy. The head sculpt is just so menacing, with the purple crest there just like the robot mode head. Oh, that's lovely. You can extend the head to deploy his flamethrower, and it's neat, I guess. Not a feature I adore or anything, but it's a rather nice inclusion. The rest of the body looks great and really clean. It's very detached from the robot mode. With all that being said, I find there to be more glaring flaws with this mode as opposed to the robot mode. I mean, all my praise just went out the window when you look at these robot feet. These do not work with the cohesion at all, and you even get some hollow gaps here. Oh joy. Also, his arms are just weirdly placed. They're too low down in the chest. From most angles, they just look kinda goofy. Also, this weird bicep armor left over from the robot mode butt flap, not a fan. I am, however, a fan of the weapon storage. All the sheaths and weapons return in this mode, creating a surprisingly solid weaponized mode. The samurai flag inspiration just makes itself way more present. If you're so inclined, you can put any of the weapons in his mouth, and that actually looks kinda cool. Sadly, he doesn't have much articulation in this mode to make this display look dynamic in any way, but it's still a serviceable amount. He's got hinge joints at the top and the bottom jaw, simultaneously allowing the head to move up and down. Flamethrower action, ball joints at his arms, same leg posability as the robot mode arms, with an added ball joint at his toes, and a hinge joint here as well. Finally, the tail can hinge upwards. It's not much, but it's good enough. Yeah, it's a great dinosaur mode. The aesthetics are great mostly, he holds together really well. I don't have a lot more to say. Let's get into the size comparisons, and I'll wrap up this overwhelmingly positive review. Here he is next to Leozak, Lockdown, Mr. Knight, and finally, Earthspark Grimlock. And there goes my review for the Iron Factory Kagemusha boohmaru, also known as Shattered Glass Grimlock. What can I say that I haven't already said? I love almost every aspect of this figure. The aesthetics are up my alley, he's fun as hell to pose and transform, with a great result after said transformation. He's just a fantastic Legends figure. Nothing more I can add. Of course I recommend this figure to any Transformers fan. I mean, just look at him. Well, maybe you're not into Legends scale, in which case you do you. But if you do like Legends figures, then yeah, I very much recommend for you to pick this thing up. Just be careful of the sharp bits. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like. Got something to say, leave a comment. And if you like the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Farewell, folks. I'll hopefully see you all next time. So before I move on to the top figures of 2024 video, let's have one last review to celebrate the new year. Why the hell not, eh? This is pretty exciting.